Hello, everyone. Welcome to this first webinar of a series that we're doing until the end of March. Thanks for joining. This is Matt Delisle at UNIFORM-Agri, and I'm with my colleague, Lauren. Lauren, can you say hi?
Hey, everyone.
So we, just a few things right off the bat before we start. There's two ways you can ask questions. There's a way by chatting. So there's a chat portion in your control panel. So there's a chat menu there. You just pull it down and then you can just type your question there and I'll look after those. Or you can simply raise your hand or just unmute your microphone. So just make sure that the microphone is green and not red. And then you can just interrupt and ask questions. We'll also leave a 5-10 minutes, probably more, 5 minutes question period at the very end. If you need longer, we'll take longer, no problem. And oh, one more thing. If you're not an actual customer of UNIFORM, you can also check in the handouts menu. I put a flyer there that explains what UNIFORM is, what analysis you can find in the software. There's a lot of information there, so feel free to just download it. And also, for everyone attending the webinar, you will receive, early next week, you will receive an email with a link that will allow you to view the video again, so the recording. So feel free to keep it for future reference. So Lauren, I will leave you the floor here so you can get started and show us the UNIFORM app.
All right, thanks, Matt. Well, first off, we're going to start out with how to set up a user on your desktop. So we'll select the UTouch app to the left side of your screen. Here I've got one user set up already. We can add a new one easily with the new button. And I always select easier passwords versus harder, username and password number 2. Then we can take from our phone, click continue, and choose the top option. If you're not a UNIFORM customer yet, you can install the demo by selecting the second option here. We can change our language. And then we'll scan that QR code right on the desktop. And put our password in and hit connect. When you first open the app, you'll show these tip screen on your screen here, just to give you a helpful hints about how to use the program. In the upper right-hand corner, you see the 3 dots for the settings. That's where you can control language, some different things like that. So we'll take a peek at the settings really quick. Underneath settings, you can choose your language about 1/3 of the way down. If you have others on the farm that speak a different language, different users can have different preset languages. You can also customize your text size here. If you would like a larger text size or even a smaller text size, you've got that option. The next button down we'll talk about in a second a little bit more, but that allows you to customize your home screen. Those tips I just mentioned can be turned on again at any time by selecting the arrow to the right of the tips option and just choose show all tips again. So you'll have a little reminder of where things are and how to locate different items in the program. If you're a name person instead of a number person, you can choose your ID to be selected to name. And the same thing on the cow search menu, you can change which items you're searching there. At the very bottom, you've got the option for optional items. If you hit the arrow to the right there, you can choose yes or no which items you would like to be synchronizing between your app and your PC. So we can turn on cow grade or photo and turn on or off any of these other items as well.
And for
For
those who
health,
don't know what, sorry to interrupt, Lawrence, for those who don't know what cow grade is, make sure you sign up for that webinar. That's going to be, I think, later on in March somewhere, and we'll go through that in details.
perfect. At the very bottom, you do have an option for health. And this one I find interesting. If you're looking for just a little bit of health data in your app, you can choose current lactation. But if you're looking for a little bit more detail, you can choose that all option to get more details there. Once you make changes here, you'll want to synchronize again, but to save time, I just will say no. And if you really, if you want to go back to your dashboard, you just check that check mark in the upper left-hand corner. So I said we could customize your main screen here. You can actually have two of them. By selecting any of these icons and holding down for a second, it'll pop open. It'll pop open your settings for that home screen. And then here we can choose 9 items for each tab. So the upper right-hand corner, if you hit the arrow to the right, we can add that second page. Now you see at the top it says menu tab 2. So here we could add, say, semen stock or vet checklist, medicine stock, whatever is interesting to you to have at your fingertips. Then select the check mark on the bottom left to save your changes. So now if I swipe, yeah, there we go. Now if I swipe, I've got a second page and I've got my vet check, semen inventory, and medicine stock there. While we're on that topic, I'll just show you quickly the semen stock here. This is where you can see the semen stock that you've entered from your desktop. And if you can select a bull, if you've associated a color to that bull, that'll show up down in the bottom left-hand corner here as well. And the amount in stock at the time is what's showing up in that stock number. So as we breed cows, that will deduct. Okay, so let's go back to our dashboard. And we'll jump into the animal record. We've got those tips again, so you can see easily navigating this tab. The back arrow takes you back to that main screen wherever you are in the program. You can navigate between the animals by using the arrows left or right, searching with the magnifying glass, and then you've got the menu tabs and the perform an action at the bottom with the cow with the triangle on her belly. So here, let's search. We can search by name or number. And then in the upper right-hand corner, the 2 papers, that's our animal record tabs. So in your program on your desktop, this is your file folder with all your cow information. And here it's a drop-down list. So same things are associated with each of these. For instance, if we're looking at milk recording, we can see the last test on file for this current lactation. This happens to be a young cow, so we've just got 2. Same thing for milk meter. Here we have this data. We can scroll through and see 7 days of history with each individual milking recorded here, and then a total. If you're doing photos, you've got that option in the upper corner as well. When we select the cow in the bottom corner, this is where we can add items. So if you're interested in tracking classification score on your animal record, you could use that comment field. And here you could put in a score. So now that's in her record. We can also add health and treatment events here. So let's say she's got a health event. And we can browse from our full list or search with the word. Give her a mastitis. And here it pulls up the plan that we've already set up in our desktop.
If you don't have any plans selected by default, that means you need to, like Lauren is saying, that means you need to set it up in your desktop program. Don't hesitate to call us. We can help setting those up.
Once you've got all your information about the treatment plan and the medication associated with this event, you can hit that checkbox in the bottom corner. And this is showing that this is a plan, so we want to synchronize once we finished. Let's see, we can also add additional treatments here. And we can set up hoof trims in your app. So we'll talk about that, I think, in another webinar, right, Matt?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Maybe I can jump in here just real quick. I get this question sometimes where people have milkers that aren't connected with a software to which we can pull the data into UNIFORM. So they see the milk weights after milking the cow, but it's not recorded anywhere. In the app, can you show us, Lauren, how to enter a manual milk weight recording, and then maybe synchronize back with the computer and show us where in the program itself you can view this milk weight?
Sure. So we can add a milking here, and you'll want to add both the AM and PM, or if you've got 3 times a day milking, you'll want each milking to be accurate here. So you could add that, type in the milk yields, say 35, and done. And then we'll give the check mark.
There we go.
And so now that milk weight is here.
Yes.
And if we go back to our main screen and hit synchronize, we can send and receive new data.
So always make sure you synchronize after entering data, like not after every single time you enter a piece of information, but if you've entered all required data for for the morning, then you make sure to synchronize. And that's the reason for that is sometimes in the barn there's Wi-Fi available in certain spots, and other spots are not covered at all, even with 4Gs or LTE. So with that way, like using the app offline, you can synchronize back whenever you're in reach of your network. And that's how I think, Lauren, you went back to that animal record.
Yes. So I jumped over to the animal record on our desktop for number 67. We just entered that milk yield. And now it's here as a manual milk recording on her milk recordings tab.
Perfect.
Okay. So next up, we can look at doing some different data entry. We can do a calving here as well. And again, you've got those tips. So let's give a calving. With the check mark, we can enter our calving ease, same as you would have in the program. Say slight problem. And then we can add that calf. We'll say female. And we'll just say died. Check. And check.
And let's say,
so
Lauren,
now she's no longer on our calving list there.
Let's say, Lauren, I've entered a calving or any other information, but on the wrong animal. So I mistyped the animal number, and I want to delete that data entry before I synchronize all my other data that I've entered. How do I do that?
Sure. We'll go back to the main screen here and click the 3 dots in the upper right-hand corner. Then the first item there is registrations. So now we see that calving for 827 that we just entered. And if we highlight that and hit the pencil in the upper right-hand corner, we can see the information about that calving and make changes or delete it completely.
Perfect.
So the trash can deletes in the left-hand corner and the check mark saves.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay. We can also do a breeding from the app. So we'll hit the heat button and see. Check here. We'll do a breeding for 988. We can select our reason. Similar in the program, all the same items do apply. So if you've got AI protocols in place, you can select these and they'll show up in your fertility KPIs in your desktop. If you've got questions about that, that's one of my favorite reports. So I have calls about the fertility KPIs. So we can choose the reason why we bred this heifer, say standing heat. And then if we choose the bulls and we choose magic, we've got him in stock, and then say go. And if we go to our semen inventory, now we've deducted from that service sire. And on our record, we can now see that she is serviced today when we see her status there. And then the service sire is magic. We now have expected calving dates and all that information here in our app. So like Matt said, we want to make sure we're synchronizing when we're entering this kind of data. It doesn't have to be with each individual breeding, but it's very important to make sure that you're up to date. So you're not looking at your app and thinking, oh man, I know I bred that cow, but maybe it's been 3 days since you synchronized. So don't let your data get old.
Wonderful. And can we take a look at what kind of list can we generate, task list can we generate on the mobile app, and how can we also set them up from the UNIFORM program?
Yeah, good question. So on our desktop, we've got the task button where you can access your tasks that you're familiar with. But to get to your herdsman action list, let's go to the cow's head and herd data. We'll go to action lists, and then the herdsman action list is number 1. In the lower right-hand corner, you can select the properties button. Here, you have the drop-down menu on the left-hand side of this window, and you'll select UTouch app. Here, you can change the different days ahead and warning triggers for these items that will show up in the app for heat attentions, calvings, and dry-offs. But the most interesting one for tasks is the action scheduler. So here, that mastitis program that I entered earlier, I could select this, and these items could be pulled over to my app on my task button. You've also got your vaccination programs, sync programs, and then any other animal level events that can all be sent over to your app. Whenever you're making changes here, just be sure that you hit that Save Preset button so that your changes are saved, and then you'll hit OK. This is the list that would show up in your app, so you can kind of preview and see if this is the right amount of data for you. Maybe you need to tweak it a little bit, and then you can send that over with a sync on your app. So you'd go back over to your app and synchronize and pull over any of that data.
So that's a question we get sometimes. People look at their task list on the dashboard, on the program dashboard, and they notice that it's different. Like they have a different number of items to take care of compared to the mobile app. And that's specifically for that reason, because the Herdsman action list on the program is set up differently with a different preset than the one for the mobile app. So of course, if you make these two presets match each other's, you will end up with the same amount of tasks on both sides.
And this is how it would show up here in your app. And you can scroll through the list and set up the sorting however you like. If you've got a vet list or a hoof trimming that you like to use on your app, we can also do that kind of information. The vet checklist has a similar properties drop-down menu as the Herdsman action list. So if you need help setting up any of those, just give us a call at the help desk. We'd love to help you guys out.
Do we have any questions so far? I see people are very silent, but they're paying attention because we can see that. I think so far so good. I don't see any raised hand or no messages. So that means it's very clear, Lauren.
Excellent. That means I did a good job.
Can you
Actually,
show us?
it just means everybody wants to call me next week about the app.
Can you show us maybe a little bit the dashboard on the app itself and how you set it up?
Sure. So the pie chart icon corresponds between the desktop and the app. So we'll click the pie chart. Here, just like in the desktop version of the program, you've got a settings gear. So we'll click that gear. And here, just like we could choose from the main menu tab, we can choose to show different items. So if we've got some beef cows in the herd, we could turn those on. If we're interested in looking at SPP, which we'll talk about in another webinar, we can turn that on here. And just scroll through the list and see what's interesting to you, maybe preg rate or insemination rate. And then check the check mark. And now here we've got that similar herd summary layout as what you see on the top of your computer. So that's the same breakdown there. And then as we scroll down, we've got more options for these KPIs here, where maybe you're limited to 8 on your desktop, but you can choose as many as you like here in your app.
And I believe if you click on, for example, the bred cows at the top there. Yeah,
Yep,
so it
you
shows
get your
you the list of, yeah.
And then you can navigate directly to the cow by clicking on the cow in that list too, just like you can on your desktop.
Good. Sometimes I get questions or feedback that sometimes you go in the barn in the morning and for some reason you cannot synchronize. Okay, so you have Wi-Fi in the barn, so you get there, it's connected to the Wi-Fi, but for some reason you cannot synchronize. It says server not found. That's the most common message I think we have, Lauren.
Yeah.
The one thing I can suggest, something you can try before even calling us, is to try to disable the Wi-Fi button on your phone. So just get out of Wi-Fi, and of course you need mobile data, and try to synchronize again while you're on mobile data and see if it works. Sometimes we have different restrictions, or computer guy messed around with the router in the barn. So these are things that you can try on your own for troubleshooting connection.
Yeah, I would say probably 90% of the time when we get a call that you can't synchronize the app, just turning off the Wi-Fi is enough to get you going.
We have a question here by Garrett. Thanks for asking. The question is, why don't we have butter fat and protein on the cows on the animal record? So if you go back there, yep. Meter. So this would be with milk recording. So there's a way to simulate a milk recording within UNIFORM. But of course, you know, by simulating that milk recording, we're taking the data out of the parlor or robot. We don't see fat and protein here because of that. But if it would be the official milk recording, you would get that information on your cows. Does that answer your question, Garrett? I can maybe unmute your microphone there. Oh yes, okay. He responded yes. So we're good.
One other thing that is interesting on the milk recording section, if you do have a full test result in here with the fat and protein, you can also scroll over to the right and you can get your somatic cell count there as well. So you can see that from your app. And then again, your SPP is right here on that animal's record in the milk recording. So you can see those at your fingertips as well.
That's a good point there, because sometimes we don't notice that we can scroll to the right. Good point, Lauren. We're now at our question period. So if you have any questions like Garrett, please type them up or just unmute your microphone. Don't be shy, and we'd like to hear from you. I don't think I see anything. Good. So again, any questions following this? You have our number, 1-866-807-6111. So that's the number for the help desk. Don't hesitate to call. And like I said at the beginning, the recording. Oh, I have a question here. So Karen, thank you. My app has a classification tab. My desktop doesn't. Is that just due to the version I have? Lauren, can you show us the
That's a good question.
Sorry, yep. Go ahead.
Oops. Yep, no, good question. It shows up here on the animal record in the tabs. The reason it's not in your desktop is because it doesn't really correspond to our North American version of classification. This is a little bit more of a European model here. But that's why I like to show that we can add, oops, go back here. So we can add that comment with the classification score. So if you wanted to put in just the number score or even the sign, say very good, and then put your numbers in, you could do that. If you wanted to put your mammary score in, you could do that as well. So you can add some of that additional breakdown information here if you'd like to record it. Then we can also generate a report in Report Writer with animal information using this comment field. So we can get you a classification report if you're interested in it.
Does that answer your question, Karen? She says, okay.
Okay.
Thanks for asking. Thanks for asking. Any other question? Guess we're good. Oh, Garrett has another question. In report open cows, can we have days in heat? So I guess it's from the, yeah, that list from the
Here?
dashboard. I think it's just a listing of animals, but yeah, if you yeah, days in heat.
Status days. I'm not sure about that one.
Yeah, but that would be the overall
Yeah.
I think he meant like right from the list.
Yeah, I was just looking to see if that was a setting option. The only thing that may answer your question here, Garrett, if you you can click right directly into that cow from here. So, and then jump back and forth with the arrow. So if we're looking at our list quickly, this is basically your quick scan of who are the cows that are on my attention. I guess if you're looking for the repeats, you could click on 421 and jump right over to her page. It pulls you to that general tab, and you can see here she's 11 days served. So it's not necessarily in the same list, but it's 2 clicks to get you there.
Does that make sense, Garrett? Oh, Karen says the heat tab on the main screen will get you animals close to heat.
Yep, this is just like the heat button on your dashboard in your actions section. And here I do like the way that this displays animals, because you can see as we check mark, we've got a check mark on an animal, and then her individual data is down here at the bottom. And we can see the remark, days after calving or how many days late since service. And as we scroll through, we can see those comments change. So this does give you a little bit more information if you're looking specifically at heat attentions. And again, this is driven by the settings in your desktop version of the program.
Good, good, excellent. Any other question? I think we're good here. Well, thanks, Karen and Garrett, for participating. Thanks for everyone for joining. And like I was saying, the recording will be made available early next week. You will receive an email with the recording, so feel free to keep it as a reference. And that's it. So thanks for joining, and we will. Thanks, Lauren.
Thanks, everyone.